purchase from Freddie Mazda. You may be feeling overwhelmed with all of the technology in your new vehicle, and that's okay. Today, we will be going over every feature step by step to help you hit the road with confidence.
Now for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using a Turbo Signature CX-5. This is the top trim level, which means it has all of the features we're going to be going over today. Starting off with the door, we're going to go over our hands-free locking and unlocking. First thing I'm going to teach you is one tap is going to unlock just your driver's door. Now we can come in and sit down if we'd like to. If I tap it once more, it'll actually lock our vehicle for us. You know if your vehicle's locked if your mirrors fold in. Now if I wanted to unlock everybody's door, let's say I have me and my friends coming into the car, I'll give it 2 rapid taps, 1, 2. And what that does is it unlocks my door as well as the door of everybody else. The next outside features we're going to be going over are going to be our gas tank and our hood. Now, if you enter your vehicle and you look down below to the left side by the driver's side door, you'll see that you have your option to open your gas tank up as well as pop your hood. Now that we have our gas tank open, we can come over here. We see that it's nice and open for us. Open it up, remove the cap, and fuel the vehicle. Over here in the hood, however, you will need to unlatch it. And by unlatching it, you're going to reach your hand inside and you see that there is a little latch right there, and you're going to push that to the right side. So we're going to push it right, and then just like that, we should be able to unlock the vehicle. Now here you see that if you wanted to stand it up, you have your nice little stand right there for your hood. The next portion of the outside checklist is going to be our trunk. Now back here we see we have a couple of buttons under here. The first one we're going to go over is the handle. So if we press that handle right there, which is located directly under the Mazda logo, it's going to open up our automatic liftgate. Your vehicle may or may not have this feature. Either way, if you do have the automatic liftgate, you never want to force it down because you may mess up the hydraulics. We're going to go ahead and close it by pressing that button right under the lid. And once it is nice and closed, this is going to be if you're done doing groceries, if you're about to go inside. You see that there is a button located on the right hand side. This is going to be a button that allows you to lock the vehicle. So I press that, I hear a nice little beep, and I look, and our side mirrors are folded in now, and the car is armed and alarmed. Now taking a look inside at the features we have, we're going to start off with our seat. Now here at our seat, we see that we have 3 different controls as well as seat memorization options. And the way this works is this horizontal button is going to control the forward and backward motion for your seat, as well as the height controls for the front portion or the entire seat as a whole. You can see if I move just this front tip, we move just the front tip of the seat. But if I use this portion back here, it moves the entire seat up. Next, we have the vertical bar, which is going to be the leaning forward and backwards portion for your seat. So if we push that forward, our seat's going to lean forward. If we push that back, our seat is going to lean back. And the next one is going to be this guy, and a lot of you may not be familiar with this one, but this is going to be your lumbar support. So if I push this out towards the front of the vehicle, we can see that the lumbar support starts to come out. And if I push this back towards the back of the vehicle, the lumbar support recedes back into the seat. Next, we have our seat memorization options. So let's say I have the seat exactly where I wanted it. I adjusted everything to where I'm comfortable at, and I want to save my seat settings. All you have to do is press set and then press the button you would like to assign that to, and then now we can hear those 2 beeps that letting us know that we have set the seat memory right now to setting 1. So every time I press 1, the seat's going to go back to this exact position here. Here we are in the interior of our CX-5, and the first setting I would like to go over on the inside is going to be one of the most important, and that is our mirrors. Now if we want to adjust our mirrors, for instance, this one is a little bit too far to the left and up, I'm going to twist this knob right here to the left so that it shows on that L. There's an L right there, and that dot lines up with it. And then now that that dot is lined up, if I push this knob up, it's going to make my mirror go up. Now I want my mirror to go down, so I'm going to push it down, and I want my mirror to go to the right a little bit, so I'm going to push this knob to the right, and that is going to make my mirror go to the right. Now I'm going to go to the left a little bit more, and we can do the same thing on the right side, twist it to the right, just like that. Now that this dot is lined up with the R, we can go ahead and control our right side mirror electronically. Now there's one more setting located on this knob, and that's going to be to fold our mirrors in, and if I twist it to the back so that this dot lines up, we see that our mirrors are going going to fold in for us without us having to turn the vehicle off or lock the doors. If I were to untwist it and go back to the R, that will unfold our mirrors for us, and that would leave them nice and normal. I like leaving my knob located on the middle setting because now if I were to bump into it or change anything, it's neither on the L or the R, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to affect my mirrors. Below that, we have your window setting as well as your door locks, and this lock button right here is going to be your window lock for the back seats. So if the children are in the back seat and they're messing with the windows, just press that button right there and they won't be able to mess with them anymore. The next features we're going to be going over are going to be this instrument cluster we have to the left of our steering wheel. The first button is going to be the button to open up our automatic liftgate. So if I press that down and hold it, we see that back here our liftgate is going to open up. And if I wanted to close it, it would be the same process. I would just simply come back here, hold that button down, wait for that beep, and then I look back there and I see that our trunk is closing. Next to that, we have our camera view button. Some vehicles may not be equipped with this and you may just have the rear view camera as well. This one has the 360-degree camera, so I'm going to press our camera view button, and then I can see up here we have not only the rear view camera, but this bird's eye view that lets me know anything that is around the vehicle. Coming next up is going to be our parking sensor. If that orange light is on, that means our parking sensors are engaged. And this is going to let me know if I get too close to anything. So I'm going to put the vehicle into drive real quick and drive close to this Ford up here. And as I get close to the vehicle, in a couple of seconds, we'll begin hearing a beep. So, yep, there it is. And that is our parking sensors letting me know that I'm getting too close. I'm gonna put the vehicle in park, and then I'm going to go to our next setting, which is our lane keeping assist. Now, lane keeping assist is going to be able to be turned on or off using this button. The vehicle is on right now, and we have those two lanes right there next to our vehicle on the display. But if I were to turn it off and press this button once, those lines disappear, and we get this light on right here, which is the lane keeping assist off light. This is if you're one of those people who doesn't like signaling when you're merging and you don't like the lane keeping assist bringing you back in. You can turn it off or on using this button right here. And I'm going to turn it back on by pressing that button once more, and we see that the light turns off and our lanes come back. The next vehicle setting we're going to be going over is going to be our lights. Now, this does work like most other manufacturers. If you push up, it is going to be your right turning signal. If you push down, that is going to be your left turning signal. If we push forward, that turns on our high beams. And if we pull it back, that is going to flash our high beams so that when I let it go, that light is going to go off. And that is your blue high beam indicator light. Now, if I put the vehicle on auto, this is going to allow it to turn on and off our lights for me, as well as if I have my high beams engaged, it will automatically cut them off if it senses any light or headlights from another driver heading towards you. Below that, we have the other two light settings like normal, and this is what you would put on if you were driving in fog. I'm going to turn off our lights now, and we're going to go take a look at the wiper settings. Here we are at our wiper settings. Now, it looks extremely complicated, but trust me, by the end of this, you will completely understand how to work it. The first thing you're going to take a note of is this diagram right here. This is showing you the position of your wiper stick. If I were to push it down one, we are in auto now. If I push it down once more, we're on low, and the wipers are going to go at a low rate of speed. And if I push it down once more than that, we're going to put it on high, and our wipers are going to go at a high rate of speed. Now I'm going to push it back to auto, and then with auto, it's going to wait till it detects rain on the windshield itself to turn on. And you also have the option of controlling how fast it wipes on auto using this knob right here. Now, this knob also coordinates with the intermediate knob for your rear wipers, which is going to be turned on by twisting this portion of the knob stick right here, and that is going to make it so that our rear wipers turn on for us and start wiping. Now, if I wanted to mist our front windshield, I would pull the stick back, and that'll mist the front windshield for me. And if I wanted to mist the back windshield, I would simply turn it down to this mist symbol here, and that'll mist the back windshield for me. That is going to be it for our wiper settings, and now we're going to go take a look at our steering wheel. The next feature we're going to be going over is going to be our Mazda steering wheel. Starting off over here on the left hand side, we have our volume controls. Pressing it up will raise your volume, lowering it will lower your volume, and pressing it down or in the middle will mute your audio. Over here we have our seeking and skipping. If we're connected to radio, it'll switch between stations, and if we're using Bluetooth or Apple Carplay or Android Auto, it'll simply skip between the songs. If I were to press that info button in the middle, this is how we're going to adjust our center display. Depending on your vehicle, you may have this larger display in the middle or a smaller display located on the right hand side. Either way, that info button will change what appears on that display. First, we have our driver assistance display, which is letting us know that our lane keeping assist is on and there's an object in front of us. In this case, it's a Ford Raptor. And if we were to press that info button once more, we go to our next setting, which is going to be our maintenance setting. This lets us know how many more miles we have until our next service. If we press that once more, we get our compass and our fuel level. So this is going to let us know we're looking south currently and we have 52 miles left in our tank. We can see that also located here next to our fuel gauge. That 52 means we have 52 miles left. That 11 means we have 11 miles on our odometer, and that 35 means that we're in a 35 mile per hour speed zone. We can also track our miles per gallon as we drive on the left hand side. If I press that info button once more, we turn the display off and no information will appear. And if we press it once more, we get our trip A and our trip B settings. Now, if we wanted to reset this, I already have it reset, but if we did want to reset it, we would simply hold down that info button and it'll clear it out for us just like it did just there. Next, we have our phone call settings. If you're receiving a call, you can answer it pressing this button, and you can hang up pressing this button or decline it. This button also works as your voice recognition button, so if I were to tap it right now that we're not receiving a call, and I just tap it, it'll activate our Mazda voice assistance. I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to cancel that out. And if you had Android Auto or Apple CarPlay set up, you would simply hold that button and it'll activate Siri or your Google Assistant. Over here on the right hand side, we have our cruise control settings. This is going to be your radar cruise control. So if I were to go back to our driver assistance page right here and I activate that, I can see that now we have 2 car spaces in front of us, or 3, and I can also reduce it. By doing that, I can reduce it pressing it down, or I can increase it pressing it up. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep a certain distance between the car in front of me and the car behind me while using cruise control. So if I have the cruise control set to 65 and I engage this and the vehicle in front of me starts slowing down, the CX-5 itself will start braking for me. This is going to be our normal cruise control settings. It's the same as in most manufacturers. You can press up to set your speed, then you can increase or decrease your speed or reset it. If you wanted to cancel out the whole system, we can just press this cancel button in the middle and that'll clear out our cruise control settings. This also activates cruise control down below, and this activates our lane keeping assist and steering assist. Now when I press this button, a steering wheel appears right here, right in front of our Mazda, and if I were to turn it off, that's going to turn it off. And what that steering wheel does is it helps readjust you if you're going out of your lanes or if the vehicle senses something wrong. One last portion I wanted to go over with this setting and display here is that we also have the option to change our miles per hour or kilometers per hour by pressing this stick down. So if I press it down, we get kilometers, and if I press it again, we go back to miles per hour. And if I were to rotate it, it'll actually adjust the brightness of these displays right here. So going left will decrease it and going right will increase it. Next couple of features we're going to be going over are going to be located here in the middle. Now, first we see that we have our hazards located between these 2 center vents. Below that, we have our climate settings. Now, we have this little information panel right here that lets us know if our passenger airbags are on, and it'll also let us know if any seat belts are not clicked in if we're driving. Now, here we see that we have our heated steering wheel button, and like every button inside of the Mazda, once I press it, we get that nice little light on to let us know that it's engaged. Below that, we have our heated seat and cooled seats button, which have 3 levels of intensity that you can choose how you want. Then we have the option to turn on or off our climate. If I turn it off, we get no fans, no AC, nothing. I turn it back on, everything goes back to normal. Here we have the option to change our airflow. We can either have it coming from outside or recirculating. Right now we have it on recirculating. Next we have our front windshield defroster, rear windshield defroster, passenger heated seats, and passenger ventilated seats. But next to that, we have our vent option, which is going to let us know where the airflow is coming out of, and it coordinates with this guy up here. So if I press that again, now we have it coming towards our face and our feet. Press that again, just our feet, then the windshield and our feet, and now we're back to just our face. Here we have our fan controls. It's going to be decreasing and increasing our fan speed. And then next to that, we have a very important button, which is our AC button. Now we can see right now that it is engaged, but if I were to turn it off, what's going to happen is it's not going to cool down the air entering the vehicle and is instead just going to blow like a fan on me. I'm going to turn that guy back on, and then we have two more buttons to go over, which are actually located on the knobs themselves. Now the knobs control the temperature. It's going right increases it and going left decreases it. And right now we see that we have our sync button on, which is lit up, which is going to make it so that when I adjust this temperature, it adjusts our passenger temperature as well. If I were to turn that off, it'll make it so that just adjusting mine separates it, and I can only adjust my temperature and the passenger stays whatever the passenger sets it to. So I'm gonna turn sync back on, and then over here we have auto. Now auto is going to make it so that the vehicle chooses what fan speed is necessary to get the vehicle down to that temperature, and since I have it on low, it's going to increase our fan speed. Now the only way to turn auto off is I can't press auto again. What I have to do is actually come over here and manually change our fan speed, and once I manually do that, you see down to the left it actually cuts auto off. Moving on, we have these settings down below our climate, and we see we have a 12-volt charging port on the left-hand side as well as a wireless charger. Now, our wireless charger can be turned on or off, and we can see right now using that indicator light that it is on. If I wanted to turn it on or off, I would simply hold down the power button, and in a second the light will cut off, and that lets me know it's off. And if I wanted to turn it back on, it would be the same thing. Just hold down that power button until I see the light, and now our wireless charger is back on. In the middle, we have our gear shift as well as the option to unlock it in case the battery ever dies. And if we were to put the vehicle into drive, we see that we have this nice little M key on the left of it. So if we push our gear shift to the left, now we can manually adjust our gear if we wanted to increase it or decrease it if you like doing that. I'm going to put the vehicle back in park, and we're going to take a look at this MI drive option. Now this little switch down here is going to coordinate with your center display if you do have it. If some vehicles may just come with a portion that says sport. Now if you have that portion, you won't get this large menu that pops up. You would simply receive the sport option in front of whatever gear you're in. Now sport is going to make it so the vehicle accelerates quicker, and if we were to go down to we go past normal to off-road, that makes it so that the vehicle has a little bit more traction to it. I'm gonna put us back in normal, and I'm gonna go look below that. We see we have our parking brake. If I wanted to engage our parking brake, I would simply lift up the parking brake, and then that light indicating solid is gonna let me know our parking brake is on, as well as over here on the left-hand side of our display, we see that we have the brake light on. If I wanted to disengage my parking brake, I would have to put my foot completely down on the brake and then push this down, and that'll disengage our parking brake. Next, we have our auto hold button. And this is by far one of my favorite buttons located inside of a Mazda. If I were to press it right now without my seatbelt on, it would not work. So I'm going to go ahead and put my seatbelt on real quick. And then now that I have my seatbelt on and I press this button, the auto hold will stay on. And what that does is if I were to put the vehicle into drive and then I were to drive forward, I actually won't do anything because the auto hold feature is on. If I wanted to go forward, I would simply give it a little bit of gas, and now we're moving forward. If I wanted to auto hold again for me, I would simply push my foot all the way down on the brake until I see that green hold light come on, and that'll engage the auto hold. I can take my feet off the brake. If I'm in a line for a drive-through or a bank teller, I don't have to hold on to the brake anymore. I can just let the car do it for me. Now, a cool little tidbit is if I were to take my seatbelt off right now while the car is in drive and hold is on, it'll actually engage the parking brake for me, and it won't let me go forward. You see the brake is installed now, and it is shown on here, and the auto hold feature has turned off even though the vehicle is in drive. I'm going to go ahead and put it back into park, and I'm going to take off the parking brake once more. Let's go check out the center display now. Now we're going to go over our Mazda display. However, the display is not touchscreen, and instead you have these controls located in the center of the vehicle. Now, before we go over the display itself, I would like to teach you how to use the controls. The main thing you're going to be using is this knob right here. Now, this knob has three different ways you can actually use it. The first one would be rotating the silver rim around it, and what that does is moves freely between the options. If I wanted to go up, I would go left, and if I wanted to go down, I would rotate it right, and that will do that for me. Now, I can also push it to the left or to the right. So if I push it to the left right here, it's going to open up our notifications menu, and we have no notifications. So I'm going to go ahead and push it to the right. So if I wanted to back out and go back to our home screen, I have two different options. I can either press the back button here and go there, and then it'll bring us back to the home screen. Or let's say I'm further into our settings and doing something else, I could actually press the home button here, and the home button will bring me straight back home. Now, if you're already on the home screen and you would like to have your screensaver up, pressing the home button once more will actually bring your screensaver up for you. In this case, it's just an analog clock. We're going to go ahead and press home again, and then next we see that we have a couple more shortcuts here. If we want to quickly get to our media settings, we can press media, and that'll bring us to our media screen. Or if we wanted to go to our navigation screen, we can press navigation, and that'll bring us to our navigation screen. Now, if I wanted to select something, let's say I go back home and I were to go up to our entertainment display, I would simply press down in the middle like I just did, and we can see here on our left hand side we have that menu option that is telling us to push down on. So if I push down on the knob, look at our menu option, we see that we have the option to scroll up or down. Now in a second we're going to go over the display a little bit more, but I want to continue with the controls. Next we have our favorites button, and then lastly we have this knob right here. This is going to control our volume, so right will increase it and left decreases it, and if I were to push it down, that'll mute our audio altogether. Now, if I were to hold it down, what that does is actually turn our display completely off. And if I wanted to turn it back on, I would simply hold it down again, and our display comes right back on. Now let's go into the screen itself and take a look at all those settings. Now that we have these screen controls down, we're actually going to go ahead and start working on the screen. I'm going to teach you everything inside of it, starting off with the top information menu. Now, if I were to click on that and enter information, we see we have three different categories. Fuel efficiency monitor is going to show us your fuel efficiency, and you can monitor your miles per gallon as you drive. And if we press the menu option, we get the settings for it and a couple other things. If I go back and I look at our Sirius travel link, this comes free with your 3 months subscription of SiriusXM that you get once you purchase your Mazda. And what it does is it gives you Traffic Plus, so you can monitor traffic. It also gives you the weather radar and a couple other useful features to help you while you're traveling around. If I were to go back, we see that we have one last setting, and that is going to be our vehicle status monitor. Just like in that center display, we can see how many more miles we have till our next maintenance. We have our maintenance details just below that, which is just going to be the oil change. And then the last setting is going to be the maintenance settings, and here has the most important feature. It lets us choose whether or not we want to manually or automatically have our next service date point put on for us. I recommend having it automatically notify you, and then we can actually reset our service interval in case they forgot to do it at the dealership. So you would just simply come down here, press reset, and it will reset everything for you. The next portion we're going to go over is going to be our entertainment settings. Here, if we go to entertainment, we can see that we have that menu on the left side, and if I click down, we see the source list. Now this is where we can change where the music is coming from. We have all of our options, including FM, AM, Sirius XM, Pandora, Bluetooth, as well as our smartphone apps and the USB input. When you put it on the USB input, it will activate Apple Carplay and Android Auto. If I were to back out and go down, we can see that we have our favorites, and if we wanted to add a station to our favorites, let's go to our channel list real quick, select the station, let's try Hits 1. If I wanted to add this station to our favorites, I would simply hold down this star button right here, and then once I hold that button down, it actually adds it to my favorites. So now if I go back to that menu, once this screen goes away, I go back to that menu, check out our favorites, and we see we have that channel right there. And it works the same for AM and FM. Tune mix is going to be an option for you to see what unique mixes you can use for SiriusXM. You have to have an account to use that. So we're gonna go switch to AM and FM real quick. We're gonna go with FM. And here in FM, if I were to go back down there, we see that we have the tuner controls. Now this is going to be how you can control the audio as well as go through it. So we can scroll through our stations, things like that. And that's going to be the manual tuning option as well. And this is for those old school people who like going through each one of the stations. Next, we have the radio text, which will help you if you need help listening to the radio, as well as our FM settings and our audio settings. Now, audio settings is going to be a nice little shortcut if you want to adjust your bass, treble, but the most important feature is if you have your Bose audio system. So if you look over here, we see that we have the Bose speakers. You want to go down to your audio settings and actually activate your sensor point and audio pilot. These are going to make a world of difference in sound quality. Now we're going to go back to the home screen. We're going to go to our next option, which is communication. Currently we have no phone connected, but communication would be where you wanted to go if you wanted to look at your messages, contacts, and if you wanted to use the dial pad or tell your Mazda to call someone using the voice recognition system. After that, we have navigation. I'm not going to go too into depth on navigation because it is an added on feature. A lot of people won't have it, and I always recommend using Apple Carplay instead. The next menu we're going to go to is going to be our settings menu, and this will be the longest one. So the first thing we see is going to be our in-vehicle displays. This is where we can adjust our center display as well as our heads-up display, which projects onto our windshield. We can see it right there. And if we click on that guy right there, we see that we have the option to activate it or turn it off. So we're going to go to our active driver display, and we're going to have everything on, and here we can adjust the height. So if I think it's a little bit too high, I can lower it down so I can see it better, or I'll raise it up more so I can see it even clearer. And we can adjust things like brightness, tilt adjustment, what shows up on it, and whether or not it has traffic sign recognition. Next, we have the center display. This is going to be similar settings. We can change the day and night mode as well as our brightness, contrast, if we want it to show information once we're done driving, as well as our clock settings. Behind that, we have our sound settings. The normal sound settings or audio settings will be the same as the last screen that I showed you, but the one I want to highlight in here is going to be your vehicle notification settings. And I want to make sure you have this on high because this is going to be the safety settings like your blind spot monitoring or forward collision warning, and you want it to be high enough so that it'll grab your attention whenever it needs to. Behind that, we have our safety settings. This is going to refer to your driver assistance and things like that. If I go into driver assistance, I can make sure we have radar cruise control on. Speed limit sign alert will let you know if you're going above the speed limit sign, and then speed limit sign threshold will actually make it so that if you're going a certain mile, so let's say 5 miles per hour above the speed limit, the car will warn you to let you know, hey, you're speeding. After that, we have our active safety, which is going to be the option for your lane keeping assist, and we're just going to always keep that guy on. Collision avoidance, which we always want to keep on, and normal. It may be a little bit too sensitive on early. After that, we have our parking sensors, which is going to make sure that we have our parking sensors on. After safety settings, we have our vehicle settings. Now, the most important one is going to be your doors, and here you can actually change how the door locking works. So first, I want to take a look at this, and this is going to be our lock while driving, unlock when the ignition off is setting, and we want that on. And then we have the automatic relock wait time, which is 60 seconds. Keyless auto lock makes it so that the vehicle locks when you walk away from it, and then the keyless unlock mode actually affects your key fob and the button outside your vehicle. Pressing it once both on the key fob and door unlocks just the driver's door, and pressing it twice unlocks all doors. Now if we were to go back, we see that we also have our exterior lighting and rain sensing wipers. For the most part, all these settings should be set up perfectly, so we're going to back out and go to connectivity settings. This is going to be where you can set up your Bluetooth, your smartphone connectivity settings if you wanted to have anything with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto work. So right now we don't have anything set up, but that would be where you would make it automatically pull up whenever you plug your vehicle in your phone. And the next setting is going to be your Wi-Fi settings. You can actually connect to the Wi-Fi hotspot, turn it on, and then we're going to go back because we don't actually want to activate our hotspot just yet. This is where you could find the password for your hotspot and things like that if your vehicle does have it. After that, we have the system settings, and this is going to be the most important out of all of them to some people. This is going to be where you can adjust your clock settings, your voice recognition settings, the language if it's in a different language, temperature if it's in Celsius, and your distance/speed controls if they're showing up in kilometers. The last thing I want to go over for you super quickly is going to be Apple CarPlay. Now, to activate Apple CarPlay, the first thing we're going to need is to know where our USB ports are, which are located here in our center console, and we're going to need a lightning adapter that works with the USB port. So we're going to fit this guy in here, and it would be the same for Android Auto. You would simply need a USB Type-C, and we're going to plug it into our phone, which we're using to record right now. And once I plug it in, we're going to get this notification that asks, would you like to enable Apple CarPlay? Typically, you would press always enable, and that'll make it so that every time you plug your phone in, it will enable Apple CarPlay for you. But for this video, I'm just going to put enable once. Now, once I press that, it's going to automatically launch Apple CarPlay. And then now that it has launched for us, we see that we have Waze up, and we can actually use our controls down below just like we normally would to scroll through. If we hit it to the right, we can go back to our menu options, and we can go and look through all of our settings. Now, if you want to go back to the Mazda screen from Apple CarPlay, you would simply go to that Mazda app right there, press that, and that'll bring us back to our Mazda display. To go back to Apple CarPlay, we would simply nudge the entire joystick to the right, and that'll bring us right back into Apple CarPlay. Now that you have Apple CarPlay set up, if you're one of those people who only wants to use Bluetooth, we'll simply go to the settings menu, head down to our connectivity settings, and then from here we'll select Bluetooth settings. In the Bluetooth settings menu, we want to make sure that the Bluetooth box has a check mark in it, and then we're going to scroll down to pair new device. Once we get to this menu, we're going to continue through this screen and click pair from device. From here, you'll see that the device's name is Mazda and your passcode is 000. Once you open up the Bluetooth settings on your phone and see the Mazda app, the passcode will change and it will show you a 4-digit passcode on your phone as well. Make sure those passcodes match up and you should be good to go. Next settings we'll be going over will be up top on our roof. The first one are going to be our rear view mirror or garage door opening settings, and to do this we're simply going to hold down the first and third button, and this is going to clear out the system. So once in a second we'll see that this light is going to flash green and clear out our system. So we're going to hold that guy down while we have that orange light and wait about 15 seconds and we'll see it flash. Now that it's flashed, we know that it is cleared out and ready to be paired. And to pair it, you would simply hold down your garage door clicker and the button you would like to pair that clicker to, and they will sync up and you'll get a notification just like we did to let you know that they're paired. Over here we have our sunglasses holder, our lights options to turn on our lights, and this button will turn on all the lights inside the vehicle, including the ones in the back seat. And then this button will make it so that when the doors open, the lights will not turn on. So here I've opened our door, the lights aren't turning on. However, if I disengage that button and open our door, the lights will turn on for us. Next, we have our sunroof option. I'm going to open up the manual shade, and if I were to simply press it back, it will automatically open up our sunroof for us. And if I were to push it forward again, it'll close our sunroof for us. Now that I'm done with the front portion, we're going to take a look at the back portion of our CX-5. Now back here, there aren't many settings that we're going to go over, but I do want to highlight how to fold down your seats. So if you want to fold down the actual passenger seats, you would simply pull this lever down here, and that'll fold them down nice and flat for you. It'll be the same for the other side. If we wanted to fold down just our middle seat, we will grab this leather strap right here, pull it up, and that'll bring our middle seat down. Now inside the middle seat, we do have a couple of settings, so I'm going to drop that guy down, and we see that in here we have our heated seat option, which will work the same as the front with 3 levels that you can adjust yourself. And in the center console, we have 2 USB charging ports for your backseat passengers. Now the last thing I want to go over is the trunk of the vehicle. There isn't much back here, but there are a few things I would like to highlight. For one, you have a 12-volt charging port located on that right-hand side in case you needed to plug in any devices. And then the second thing I want to show you is that if we lift up this handle here, we actually can get it out and see that we have our spare tire inside with our jack on the left and the tools we need on the right-hand side. Now you can actually remove this using the same tool you would use to remove the lug nuts from your tire, and take your spare tire out. And that's gonna be it for today.
We hope this video has helped ease any worries you may have had about your new vehicle. Please feel free to contact your nearest Peretti Mazda dealership with any questions you may have, and we look forward to seeing you at your next complimentary service appointment.